Hi everyone, this is Gabby. Thanks for joining me. Today, I'm not going to be making any cards, but I will be showing you some cards that I have made using this particular die set, which is the Spellbinders Small Die of the Month for April 2025. Now, I know some of you are already using the May product, the May Small Die of the Month, and playing around with that, but I live in Western Australia, and since I order most of my crafting supplies from the United States, it takes a while for the product to get to me. Usually it's between 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm still playing with the April Small Die of the Month. But it doesn't matter because this particular video is all about inspiration. It's about how you can get more for your money by thinking outside of the box when using a die set like this. So let's have a look at what the die set actually creates. So it's this little scene here with a snail delivering mail, so snail mail. You've got a little mailbox here with a worm on top. You've got some flowers. You've got a little hillside scene. You've got some envelopes. The actual greeting doesn't come with the die set, so you can use any greeting you want. So that's what this particular die set is designed for. So let's have a look at the cards that I've made. And I'm going to just keep this here, the little hillside, because we're going to need that for later on. So I can show you how I use that. So here is the first card. And this is using the die set for what it was intended for, how it was intended to be used. The only thing I've really done differently is I've added another envelope here because I decided too late that I would stamp the sentiment onto the envelope, and I'd already stuck all the elements down, and it took a little while, and I thought I don't want to risk messing it up. So I thought I'll just put another envelope on. Now, the only thing is, of course, it's hidden the hillside scene, which is, like this, sort of. But that's okay. You get the gist. Now, I have used various cardstocks. I've used an embossing folder for the background. I have no idea what brand that was. It's one that I've had in my stash for a long time, and I'm not even sure where this sentiment comes from. But anyway, it shows you what the die set looks like when made up into a card, and it's absolutely adorable. It's so cute. It's one of the nicest ones. Well, they're all nice, but it's one of my favorites from Spellbinders for a long time. So it's very, very cute. Anyway, that is the first card. So essentially, I made the card as it was intended to be. Now, I've also used Gina K Designs Master Layouts on here. In this particular one, I use Master Layouts 1. Now, I use the Master Layouts quite a lot in my card making. In fact, I use a lot of Gina K products in my card making, which I really, really like. But you don't have to use the Master Layouts. You could easily have just cut your background cardstock with your trimmer, so you don't need that. Okay, so that's the first card, and I'm going to keep it there so that you can see what elements I've used from it for the other cards. All right, so the second one here, as you can see, is very different. Very, very different. So I get a close look up here. I don't think you can see the shine on it, but there is a shine on here, which is lovely on the background. So I used the snail shell to actually create shells that look like they're on the beach. The background was again created with an embossing folder, and I have no idea what the brand of the embossing folder is. You probably can't get it anymore. It's one that I've had a long time in my stash, but you can use any embossing folder you want, or again, you don't need to use an embossing folder. You can make a multimedia background, or you can make a background that looks like water and sand. I just chose to go this particular way. And how I actually created that background was after embossing it, using the embossing folder, I then used a roller to add some white pigment ink to the raised parts of the embossing folder, and then dried that using my heat gun. After that, I added some of the new Simon Hurley Solar Spray, and I added 2 colours, Golden Hour and Beluga. And what that seemed to do was to reactivate the pigment ink, which is fine because it gave me a really nice effect. At first I was thinking, oh, this is all starting to move and is it going to get gloopy? But it didn't, and I actually like that effect. And so I'm encouraging you to do things like that, experiment with your products. And this, in a way was a bit of a mistake, but I liked the result. So I still used the background because it actually added to that sort of speckly, sand-like sort of feel to me. So that's what I used there. Now, the sentiment is from Gina K's Elegant Thoughts, and it's using the polyglaze of that. So this is a foiled sentiment. And I've actually stacked my sentiment here. I tend to stack my sentiments with cardstock. So I cut out extra die cuts from the die rather than to use foam tape. Now, I got that tip from Jennifer Maguire. She sort of does that quite a lot, and I like it because if I'm sending the card in the mail, it doesn't bend or droop or anything. It actually stays quite sort of stable. So I really like that. I also added some pearls here, some gold pearls, and they're also from Gina K Designs. So you can see a very different result to what the die set was intended for. So that is card number 2. Now, card number 3 is very, very simple. I have used Gina K Master Layouts 1 for this, and I've used the snail shell again to create lollipops. Now, what I did here was I used double-sided adhesive paper. I cut some strips in red and white, and then I cut out the die. I used the die to make those die cuts for the actual lollipops. Now, for the stick of the lollipop, I used the stem of the tulips. I was going to use the post for the post box, but then decided that would be too thick. So I just used the stem of the flowers for the sticks of the lollipops. And I added some sequins from Spellbinders. Now, they come from the Spellbinders Advent Calendar. I bought the 2023 Advent Calendar and also the 2024 Advent Calendar from Spellbinders. So I don't know which set these sequins, these red sequins came from. Both sets had some packets of sequins in them, but I don't know which one it was. And the pearls here are just from my stash, as is the cardstock. Now, the sentiments come from two different Gina K Designs sets. The Sweet Friend comes from the Delicate Dahlias set, and the Happy Birthday comes from the Friendly Wishes set. So another card that is very different to what the die set was intended for. All right. So number 4, and this has to be my favorite. I like this one. It's simple. It didn't take long to put together, but I really like the effect. And sometimes simple is best. So in this one, I've got the sentiment sending gentle hugs. You can see that. And that is a Gina K design sentiment. And it comes from the Gentle Silhouettes set. And I thought that would be just suitable for the envelopes because I'm sending gentle hugs. So what I did was I used the small envelope from the Spellbinders Small Die of the Month set. And I then used the heart, which on the original card is on the large envelope. I was thinking of using the large envelopes at first, but then I thought, no, that would all be too big and too much. So the little envelopes worked well, and I've put the hearts on as well. Now, the cardstock is all Gina K designs on this one, apart from the white. These are some of her new colours, and I absolutely love them. They are just gorgeous, and they work so nicely together, these 3 colours especially. I have also used Master Layouts 2 on this card, which also creates the banner. And the embossing folder is also Gina K Design embossing folder, which is lattice. And it works really well on here, I think. So another card that is so different from the original. I really like this one. I think this one's really cute. Well, I like all of them, but this one is my favorite. Okay, the next one here is using the tulips. So you can see you can get so many ideas from this die set. So this one is totally different to the other cards again. So this is using the tulips. And what I did here was I used the die cuts. I used the dies to cut out the die cuts of the tulips and the leaves, and I cut them in white, and then I ink blended on them. So I used a couple of different inks on the leaves and quite a few colours of inks on the actual blooms. And you'll see here the little stripes. I don't know if you can see the stripes. Yes, you can. They are done with coloured pencils. I love those tulips that are sort of softly pink, and the pink sort of changes, and there's dark bits and light bits and then some stripy bits. So that's what I tried to do there. I also used this particular Get Well Soon, which is also a Gina K Design sentiment, and it comes from the All at Once, All Occasions stamps and die set. I used the Gina K Master Layouts 18 for the frame, which I cut out about 5 times to really raise it up quite high. The background here is stenciled with clouds. Now you don't have to do that. Again, you can leave it white or use a particular blue color in the background there for sky. You can do anything you wish, but I used My Favorite Things stencil called Clouds, and again, it's a very old stencil, so I don't know if you can even get it anymore, but there are lots of cloud stencils out there. I also used the same embossing folder that I used for the last card, the Gina K Designs Lattice embossing folder, and here I embossed directly onto the card base and just put half of that card base into the embossing folder. So another card that is so very different from the intended use of this die set. Okay. These next two are a little bit more abstract. This one is very bright, and I think the bright colours here stand out really well on the black background. You know, it sort of makes them pop, which is really good. Now, what I did to cut these stripes is I used the post from the mailbox. Now, obviously I cut it down to size because I wanted it to fit this particular block. Initially, I was thinking that I would stagger. I would use the full size of this die and I would stagger the different colors. But then I decided, no, I just wanted to do it like this, keep it simple. And this is what this ended up with. So here I have used Gina K Master Layouts 1 and 2 for this particular card. Again, the sequins are from Spellbinders, and the sentiment is from Christina Werner with Concord and Ninth. Checking in stamp and die set. It's one of her new ones. I really love the collaboration between Christina Werner and Concord and Ninth. The products she's bringing out, or they are bringing out, just gorgeous. And I love Concord and Ninth as well. So a lot of you might be thinking here, why did I use that die to cut those strips? I could have just cut them with a paper trimmer. But hey, I may not have had a paper trimmer around, but I had that. So therefore, I use that. And it ensures that I get everything exactly the same width. Anyway, it's just to show you another element that you can use to make a card that is completely different from the original. All right, and the final card is this one. This one's got a very retro feel to me, very sort of 60s, 70s sort of vibe. But then that's just me. And for this particular card, I used the die element that cut the hillside. Actually, the hillside goes this way. And I used it, you know, in different sort of ways to cut these particular sections and then put them together. I decided to use a warm color palette, and I think they all go well together. The sequins, again, are from Spellbinders, and the sentiment is from Christina Werner with Concord and Ninth, and it comes from her Cheerful Flowers dice set. It comes with this sentiment. That die set comes with this sentiment and a lovely flower to die cut. So that's the final card. Very simple indeed. You could have done different things with this. You could have stamped background stamps, different background stamps on each of these pieces of cardstock, or you could have stamped something over the top of all of it, or you could have stenciled over it. You know, you could have done whatever your imagination wanted you to do, but it was to show you that the pieces were cut with this particular die element from the original die set. So let's bring in all the cards now. I'll get rid of this. We'll bring all the cards in here, and you can see when they're all together, especially, that they are all so different, yet they all come from using the Spellbinders Small Die of the Month for April 2024. And this is what it was originally intended to look like in the main. So I want to encourage you to look at your dies, to look at all of your products, but in this case we were focusing on die sets. Look at your die sets and see what else you can do with them other than what they were intended for, especially die sets that make up a scene like this one, or have elements that can make up a scene. You know, look at a particular element and say, well, can I use this in a different way without making a scene? Okay, and that's getting the most out of your money. that's getting the most out of your money, but it's also fun to do, to experiment using different aspects of a specific die set and think, what else can I do with it? If I look at the die set here, if I bring it back on, here we have the die set on again. I can still do different things with it. I still have quite a few ideas of doing different things with it. I can just cut out these leaves and do a background with leaves. You can do a fun card with the worm. I was going to make a card that sort of looked like a snakes and ladders type game, if you like, with the worms, and actually build a ladder with using the post from the post box, from this post box here. You can do lots of different things. This shape here, which is the post box, it sort of almost looks to me like a loaf of bread as well. My mind takes me into weird places sometimes. So, there are still lots of things that you can do with this. You've got the little cap, you've got the heart. I'm sure there are still other things that you can do with the snail shell. You can use elements of this and make background papers. You can put the envelopes haphazardly all on a sheet of cardstock, stick them all on, and then cut them out. Cut the background out accordingly. You can do lots of different things. You can use this big envelope and have maybe 6 on a page in different colors or whatever. So there's lots that you can still do with this die set other than what I've already shown you here. So I want to encourage you to look through your stash, because I know some of you will be thinking, I need to get that die set, or some of you may already have it, but you don't have to have this specific one. Look at what you've got in your stash, shop your stash, and see if you can be creative, more creative with some of the die sets that you've got, and see if you can do another 5 or 6 cards using that particular set. So those are the cards for today, and that's it from me. So until next time, take care.